Are you overwhelmed, exhausted, and feeling stuck in life? You probably realize things have to change in meaningful ways, but don't really know where to begin. Social media is teeming with inspirational stories of people who find themselves at rock bottom, yet somehow find the tenacity to turn their life around. You know your future happiness is on the line. You wish that could be you, but maybe you can't even imagine what a better life would look like for you. So how would you know where to begin? I'm glad this video found you. In this video, I'm keeping things easy because when you're already overwhelmed, you don't have a lot of energy to spare. First, I'm gonna go over the science of some key brain functions so you understand why the action you're about to take is going to work. Then I'll share the single most important thing you can do as soon as this video ends. Little preview, this action step is going to seem so easy, you may not believe it will work, which is why I'm teaching you the science behind it first. Be sure to stay to the end because I'm sharing a client story that perfectly illustrates just how impactful this process can be. I am so excited to get started. If we haven't met yet, hi, I'm Ina. Think of me as your hypnotherapist friend and tour guide through the labyrinth of your subconscious mind. If you have any interest in going from burnt out to liberated, hey, I created a free guide just for you. You can find the link in the description. You're overwhelmed and looking for help. When there's so much going on, transformation as a goal can seem like a lost cause, but I need you to know that there are resources available to you. This is why having an unbiased third party is really helpful. If you watched my last video, you already know that focusing on other people's values and expectations is a recipe for overwhelm and burnout. It's probably what got you here. I explained why all humans do this naturally, and I also showed you how to become aware of your core needs. Having a clear understanding of this stuff when you are healing is vital because, surprise, you are fulfilling those needs already. By not being thoughtful about how you meet them, you're accepting the first option available, and that is never a good idea. It's kind of like really wanting a committed relationship, so walking out into the street and proposing to the first person who makes eye contact with you. Most people would agree that's not a great strategy. For a more realistic example, you might have been fulfilling your need of being seen by becoming the most reliable friend or employee and being more present and available than anyone else, even at the expense of your own health. What if, hear me out, you could feel seen but not simultaneously run yourself into the ground? You see where I'm going with this? This is why you want to know which needs you're fulfilling and be clear on why that particular strategy doesn't work for you. Now, the most important thing I hope you get from that exercise is this. By affirming your needs, you're able to gain more understanding for and have less judgment towards who you've been or how you got here. Imagine shaming your broken leg for its inability to carry your weight. That's what you're doing when you're shaming an unhealed part of yourself. Now that you recognize your underlying needs, you may want to run out, burn some bridges, and make a plan for how to revamp your entire life, right? Not so fast. While the idea of finding healthier ways to fulfill your needs is exciting, it's also intimidating, especially when you're already overwhelmed. Haven't you been blaming yourself for the current situations you find yourself in? If that's the case, then you also learn to distrust your intuition. You probably have a lot of doubts about the best way to meet those needs you've already identified. Here's a reminder. When you're learning to drastically reduce the overwhelm in your life and you feel intimidated, take it as a sign to break things down and make things simpler. Any next step you take should feel like a full body, of course I can do that. I'm going to share the strategy I recommend for you next, but first, let's talk about some basic neural processes so you can apply what neuroscience teaches us to create real change in your life. It's really important to know this information before you take action because if these concepts don't make sense, then neither will the protocol. The key to successfully taking deliberate action is to understand and align with the process first. The action I'm about to recommend might sound too easy to execute. It is. Unless you know exactly why it works, you might dismiss the protocol, look for something harder, add an intense new regimen to an already overtaxed system, burn out, and end up feeling worse than you began. I don't want that for you. I know how powerful you are, and I need you to see that too. These principles are transferable to so much in life. My goal is to empower you to see the world differently beyond this single difficult moment in time. The subconscious mind, your operating system, which is responsible for the vast majority of your actions and impulses, is kind of like a busy parent. It's always working and keeping your body going. For that reason, when it comes to taking action, it prioritizes ease. Rule number 1, for the subconscious mind, efficiency is queen. Your brain sends out a signal to the body for every individual action you take, every thought you think. The paths these electrical signals take are called neural pathways. Think of a neural pathway as a decision your brain made and acted on. The more an action is repeated and rehearsed, the stronger that neural pathway, the less energy your brain has to expend to choose it. It's a bit like instant gratification. You get to check that task off the list and just move on. Whether or not how the task is completed is objectively good for you in the long run. Let's take that a little bit further now. Not only does your subconscious mind love to have shortcuts for taking everyday action, for added efficiency, it wants to do that on an even bigger scale. For this reason, the brain loves to make generalization, which allows it to create and follow rules. Like big shortcuts, these rules sum up your guiding principles, your values, your truths, your perspective on reality. So if you happen to run into a new person or find yourself in a new situation, you more or less know how to conduct yourself. Rule number 2, the brain is a pattern-making generalizing machine. It loves rules. Your rules set your standards and are based on things you learned and confirmed about how life seems to work out for you. Depending on the conclusions you've drawn from your past experiences, your rules could either empower you or disempower you. A rule sounds like, when this, then that. You have rules about certain segments of your life, but you also have larger, overarching rules or themes. When I talk about a value-informed behavior or thought process, I usually refer to that umbrella rule as a pattern. According to dictionary.com, a pattern is a combination of qualities, acts, and tendencies forming a consistent or characteristic arrangement. If your young mind created a rule that sounded like, when I am helpful, then I am loved, because efficiency is queen and the brain loves to follow rules, what's more efficient than taking one rule and generalizing it to many different scenarios in your life? What might have been a context-specific rule, let's say at home with your chores, over the years has become a pattern that permeates many or every part of your life. Now, unless you feel helpful, you don't feel loved in any situation. Now that we went over these basic concepts, I know you're starting to realize that patterns are driving your life. Let's talk about how you can utilize your brain's fixation on efficiency so you can finally take some action and pave your path to freedom. Remember that list you made last time? Today, you're going to look at your initial column of shit that sucks with the intention of finding the limiting rules of your life. Once you find a bunch of these limiting rules, zoom out and ask yourself, what must the overarching belief be that explains why life is this way for you? Most of your limiting rules will be expressions of the same few patterns. Here are the questions you can ask yourself. Is there a similar dynamic, vibe, or energy across the different items on my list? Does my body respond similarly to any of these experiences? What does this situation remind me of? Does anything else on this list remind me of the same time or memory? What are the negative conclusions I am drawing about myself because of this thing? Where else does this belief show up? When you find a recurring limiting belief that shows up across the different parts of your life, that's your pattern. Finding your patterns will help you see that you are reliving the same few themes, just in different contexts. I am so excited for you because now you get to take one strategic action to disprove that pattern. This is how you're going to experience holistic healing in many parts of your life at once. So, which action do you commit to? There is some criteria. Your action has to be small and achievable, and it has to disprove the validity of that pattern you just found. I want to share a client story to help demonstrate this process in action. When Jackie first came to me, she was overwhelmed and looking for help. Like a lot of my clients, she had anxiety, depression, and a general sense of fear around making the necessary changes in her life. She had recently achieved success at her job, but didn't feel deserving of the promotion. Because of how exhausted she felt at the end of each day, she also used to numb out with behaviors that made her feel worse the next morning. Classic signs of burnout. One of Jackie's truths or rules was that she couldn't trust herself. She had a lot of proof from her past experiences that she wasn't very good at making the right decisions. Maybe this resonates for you. This lack of self-trust showed up in many parts of her life. At work, in her romantic relationship, and most recently in the side business she was trying to get off the ground. By looking at all of her limiting beliefs, we realized that this rule was actually part of an even bigger pattern, not feeling worthy of something good. This is why when she received a promotion at work, it didn't feel expansive. She felt that she had somehow pulled a fast one on her team and felt guilty instead. Here is how Jackie and I figured out what action she could take next. Hypnosis is one of my favorite tools, so a lot of the work I do with my clients happens to take place in the state of trance. In the state of focused awareness, you're able to access your authentic truth and bypass the distractions of your old stories. You can set aside the memories of all the times you've failed in the past. In our session, I had Jackie imagine a future version of herself free from the limitations of her past. In that reality, she felt worthy, confident, abundant. She felt free to be herself and knew that any mistake she made was simply another learning opportunity. No failure ever felt like a death sentence. In fact, it was proof that she was exploring and being creative. Every time she messed up, she felt more liberated, more open, and more excited for her future. I asked Jackie to find herself in an everyday scene and notice what was different. She saw herself at the end of her day in her bathroom doing her nightly skincare routine. Seems simple, right? When I led Jackie out of trance, it was clear that she had just had a transformative realization. In her real life, she hadn't been able to get herself to wash her face in weeks. To her, someone who had a non-negotiable skincare routine that was part of her nighttime ritual must have really high self-worth. What's more, the bathroom in her vision was spotless and felt like a soothing environment. The first thing Jackie did when we ended our session, she hired a housekeeper to help her get her place in order while she continued to work on her unworthiness pattern. The next time we spoke, Jackie had set a boundary with an abusive coworker, was recruited to work at another company with higher pay and fewer hours, and had recommitted to investing energy in her side business. Jackie had been doing a lot of self-inquiry work, and her beautiful transformation is proof of that. When I tell you it doesn't matter which small action you take, so long as you can stay consistent and it contradicts your current limiting pattern, I mean it. Pick literally anything. By the way, I said stay consistent. I didn't say perfect. Those of us who have an all or nothing perspective on tasks, where my ADHD people's at, do not let your need for perfection sabotage your progress. If you decide you'll wash your face, you don't have to do the 10-step routine every night. If you choose to keep your desk tidy, moving some things around to make it slightly less messy is good enough. And while you're doing it, keep reminding yourself that you are doing something important. If you've made it this far, you get cosmic confetti of love showered upon you. Before I let you go, I have to explain why the most impactful thing you can do when it feels like there's no end in sight is take small action rather than go for complete overhaul. Your subconscious mind, like a busy mom who's gotta pick her battles, has too much going on to stop and fight you on every novel request, even if it does require more effort on your part. If there's no perceived danger to your operating system, she's like, okay, go ahead. That lack of resistance allows for these small, consistent behaviors to fly under the radar when we first begin doing them. As far as your busy mom mind is concerned, you tripped and washed your face a couple times. Transformation really begins to take place when you stick to that small new behavior. All of a sudden, your subconscious has to update your rules or patterns because you have proof of a different reality being true. It has to start generalizing what this new truth means about you and your world. And you know what the new belief says? I'm important, I can do uncomfortable things, and I can change. Very soon, through the process of generalization, you will notice that you naturally begin to choose thoughts and actions that have a similar positive, supportive, energetic frequency. It may even happen without you realizing it. When you're feeling overwhelmed, instead of trying to fix each of your challenges one by one, find your pattern and start doing something that disproves it. I want you to pause this video right now and decide on the one small thing you're going to start doing today. Don't overthink it. It can be literally anything, so long as it represents your future up-leveled identity. If you really can't think of anything you could do, here are some examples. At this point, you may be saying to yourself, but Ina, this tiny action, that's not what I'm looking for. I want to make big moves and experience massive transformation immediately. When everything is overwhelming, when life feels like an uphill battle, when you can't even make time to rest, you probably don't have the capacity to take drastic action. Small changes make a huge impact in ways that are hard to believe when we're just intellectualizing them. But you know what? I appreciate your ambition. In my next video, I'll talk about the drastic action you'll have to take if you need to change fast. This will also be a great video if you happen to find yourself at rock bottom and feel like you have nothing to lose. If this information was helpful to you, it would be so helpful for me if you subscribe to my channel, like this video, and share it with anyone else who might need it.